Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Super Paranormal Chronicles. This woman it's in fact, let me just explain. It's probably easier to get Fog onto the podcast than what it is to get this guest. Irene Achelois. Close enough. She's a gifted medium with over 20 years of experience as a scientist, bridging the gap between logic and the unseen. She's also the star of Trance Scribing on the Spirit Realm Network and co-host of the new Era Paranormal podcast. Irene, hi, sweetie. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Fine. How's your stage fright gone now I've done that introduction?
Yes, just a little bit. However, I'm still scared of you.
Wow. This is how it's going to be. I've got feelings, you know. I'm offended. I thought, where's that off button?
Yes. Delete.
Yeah, delete. Right. So, obviously, you've got a background of being a medium, and you specialize in transcribing, which we're going to come on to in a minute. But let's do that old time warp thing of going back in time. And how and when did you first realize that you'd got mediumistic skills?
I think for me, they always existed. They existed from birth. I always just knew like things or had experiences, and we ended up doing an exercise when I was in training to kind of go back and see what our earliest memory was. And I can remember, standing. I was in, how you can stand in the old cribs and you can hold the sides, right? So I was somewhere around that age, and I remember seeing a younger male. Like, he was blonde. He was wearing one of those old like leather jackets with the zips, and he had a head wound. So he had just kind of like, I'm guessing he had just been in an accident or had an accident. And yeah, so for me, that was probably my earliest experience, at least that I can remember. I would always have like those deja vu experiences, those dreams. Like, I would dream something and then I would have a conversation with someone the next day, and I'd be able to finish their sentence mid conversation, having remembered the dream the night before. And that experience of, as I got older, if you have people surrounding you that maybe aren't the most honest people, and you just ask questions and you just knew to ask the right questions, but you would have no clue that it was like the right question to ask, and people would get mad for no, like, for me it would be for no reason. I'd have no idea why they were mad, but it was because somehow I knew to ask the right question that would elicit a response that would, indicate that they were not that they were not being totally honest. So things like that would happen, or I would know to do something right before my boss called. Things like that. That would be like, all through my life until I finally, just said, okay, I've got to go and validate these abilities before I maybe try and do this, more often.
So one thing that I like to ask all mediums that I talk to, and I can't remember the big names, but you will, because you're a medium. A lot of mediums like either hear, see, feel.
Oh yeah,
that kind of, all those
the
Clairs.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. So how do you tend to, let's use the word communicate? How do you tend to communicate with spirits?
Quite honestly, for me, I have no idea what they're going to do or how they're going to come through before I begin to connect. So usually for me, the more dominant clairs have always been claircognizance, the knowing, and clairvoyance, the seeing. But I mean, clairsentience, and clairaudience, the feeling and the hearing, have always been there too. But I've noticed more recently, and maybe the last 6 months to a year, the clairsentience, the feeling, has been getting a lot more too. So we use them as mediums. We use them all, but we have some that kind of, they go up and down. Some are more sensitive at times, and then others. And
so, I know that you and I we've known each other for, what was it, like 16 months now? I think it was a year or
Yeah.
so ago that you came to Canada. So if you see a spirit, how does that spirit look to you? Do you see it as I'm seeing you now, not all pixelated and blurry, but you know what I mean? Or do you see it as a typical spirit? Yeah, how do you see these spirits when you're communicating, so to speak?
So, if you've ever have you ever seen any of those medium shows where, they see the person, it's like the actor is standing right in front of them? It's not usually like that. So, sometimes it has happened. So, I can see people physically in front of me as if they're standing like you're standing in front of me. It happens for me it's more rare, but it has happened. I've had experiences. I've actually had, an experience, where I've also been touched and like I know the person is there. I see them. But then usually the clairvoyance is more like if somebody projected a hologram of somebody in the space right next to you. And so I see a hologram of them as and it's playing like right in front of me, and then I see you in the physical form right next to it. Like that's pretty much how it looks. It's a little bit hazy, and sometimes it's really hard to explain to people how you can see the person, but you can't quite see them. So like it's almost like if you wear glasses and you take your glasses off so you see the person, but like their face is blurry. You can't quite make everything out on their face and you can't quite make out certain features about them, but
Um,
their build and their hair. Yeah.
yeah, I've got it. Yeah. So,
Exactly. That's exactly what I do when they get a little blurry. Exactly.
so you get asked this a lot, but I know you can have particular time when, if you're doing a reading, for example, where you open yourself up for communication. But do you get it happening on like a daily basis? Like if you're at work, and do you see it then, or are you able to switch it on and off?
So the way I was taught, like I can't take credit for the thought, like the thought of how, this explanation came about. So Cindy, one of my teachers, she gives the like description, like the dial on a radio. So if you turn it down all the way, it's still getting the information in, but you've just got it turned down. So you can't quite turn it on and off. So it's always present. So whether if I may not see something, like I'll tell people I haven't leaned into to the this experience, so I don't see what somebody might be describing in the moment. But it doesn't mean that my body's not feeling it. Some kind of thoughts are coming into my mind. It doesn't mean that's not happening. It doesn't mean something could be pushing into my aura. That stuff could still be happening. We just aren't as mentally aware of what's going on. And once I tune in, or then at the point where you could say turn it on, then you start to see everything that you're expected to see.
Yeah, because I know that a few years ago there was a TV show called Ghost Whisperer,
Yeah.
and it was a cool. It went a bit silly towards the end, but let's not go there. But when the show was on and she was seeing spirits, they would do certain things like, if they had drowned, she would see running water, or if they died in a fire, they would, she would feel the heat of the flames. Do you get that kind of sensation at all?
Yeah. So I can have very very similar experiences, and there are times where I'll feel like I'm standing in a puddle of water, and I won't know why, or if there's a cemetery or bodies buried underneath the surface, it actually feels like something's pulling at my feet. The way we work too, a lot of what we do, it comes in pieces. So, and they're all they're pulling information from in our brains that they know we're going to be able to piece together somehow and come up with our message. And so for me, if I feel like my feet are in a puddle of water, then I know to say it's possible this person, was in water at some point, or, when somebody went missing, I could feel first my feet were in the water, and then my whole body was in the water, and so then I knew somebody had gotten submerged after. So things like that will happen. Or I will actually, I can wake up to loud noise and sounds or music or something like that, and then it goes away, and then I realize, oh, okay, that was a message coming in. That experience will happen. I'll see something sometimes when I get those images, like if, like you described, where maybe something looks like it's on fire. I don't normally like get confused, like if like a building is on fire, but occasionally it can happen where I'll feel like I see something out of the corner of my eye, and I see whatever's happening, and then I go to look and it's not there. So I'll have those types of experiences. So it just depends. But yeah, you can have those kind of random moments happen, those weird things you have to figure out a lot, actually.
And on that same kind of conversation, you must obviously then get timid spirits and aggressive spirits. Yeah, obviously the aggressive ones are probably right in your face, or you may get one that's kind of like peeping around the corner because they're too shy to try to communicate. How do you deal with those kind of examples?
So it depends on what setting I'm in. So if I'm in a um, presumed haunted location, that I would look at in a different way than if I'm doing a reading. So if I'm sitting and doing a reading with somebody and the person is kind of staying far back, I know from experience in readings that there's symbolism behind that. Like they lived at a distance from you, or something went on in your life where maybe you didn't have as good communication as you would have liked, and they stay back so that I'll understand that. So that's one situation. I never really, in those situations, I never really have a feeling that like anybody is actually scared or afraid. It's mostly, if they do show that, they're showing me either an experience that happened in their life, or they're showing me something so I'll know, say, when they were alive, they were a very anxious person or a very fearful person. But it doesn't mean that they're fearful and anxious now. If I'm in a paranormal location, and I see something in certain instances, sometimes like if they run up into my face, they are trying to figure out, just like anybody else, who you are, what are you doing here, why are you in my space. They're not always, it comes in as an intimidation, but it's not always, an intimidation. It's just they come in with a lot of energy, and it kind of catches you off guard. We were at the Golden Lamb here, in more central Ohio, south of here. And we were doing an investigation, and this male comes up to me. And he's yelling in my face right away. But that was because he just wasn't expecting us there. He didn't understand. It doesn't, as far as we knew, it didn't get investigated or hadn't been investigated for a while. And so he finally, like when he realized he's not going to scare me and it's not going to make me leave, then, and I was there to talk and have a conversation, he went from being in my face, then he went all the way to the other end of the hallway, and then came back and had started having a conversation with me. And that's when we found out that he was a chef at the hotel, and his name came through on the spirit box, which was amazing. It came through as Bill. And so that kind of, like, it was the reading combined with the spirit box result, and we were able to find a photo of him in the restaurant lounge that confirmed who he was. And so he came in like that, but he's not a dark spirit or a scary spirit. It was just how he responded to me. And then there are spirits that make themselves look really scary, but it's just for me, my experience has been when I've had, not all of them. Could there be other situations? Of course. Predominantly, most of the time, it's going to be a spirit that's saying, I don't want you in my space. I'm going to scare you away, or I don't like you. You have a certain energy. I'm going to give you your energy right back. Things like that. So that's usually the case. Have there been other situations? Sure. And could there be? Of course. There's reasons why we have people we have that clear more darker energies, darker forces. So, but predominantly that's not the case, at least in
Okay.
my experience.
You mentioned going to haunted locations, and we're going to touch on that in a few minutes. But have you ever come across anybody that didn't know that they died?
Quite honestly, in my experience, have I heard stories of people telling, like, sharing their experiences? Yes, but not in my experience. They usually know.
And what about the "oh my god, you can see me" kind of interaction?
Sometimes that happens. I've had that happen. It's a really weird experience because, for me, my experience with spirit is they know that we're going to be there. They can know well in advance that we're going to be doing something because there's this whole intricate system that they're working out in the background to get the person who's supposed to come for the reading here. And like, we truly believe that, like, they're brought to the medium that they're supposed to get the message from. But I've had a couple situations where I feel like I'm standing in a location and a spirit will walk through. And you know how if you're standing in your home and you're walking across the hall and you notice somebody at the end and you're kind of like, "Ooh, who's that over there?" Like, I have had that happen a couple times. It's a little off-putting for me, but it has happened and it's odd to me, but there's probably a reason why that happens. But yeah, I find that interesting.
Yeah, you should definitely come for a ride with me in an elevator, because it's like, oh, you can see me, and it really freaks people out. It's fantastic. It's great, and I live on the 13th floor, so I can do this quite often. But people get wise to me really quick. So,
Oh my gosh.
so you mentioned that you could.
Bring your property values down every day. No, I'm just kidding.
That's exactly what we don't want riffraff living here. So you mentioned earlier that you picked up that you had abilities at a very early age, but at what point did you realize that you were going to do something with it?
For me, it was probably, gosh, I could say somewhere around there was a huge shift in my life around 2012 to 2014 where I kind of just said, okay, I like something is going on. I know I need like I can't ignore these things any longer, and I feel like I'm just not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I think, like, I was a scientist for 20 years, so I still, you're once a scientist always a scientist, I believe. But like, I was a scientist for 20 years, and like, I was, your normal everyday, first generation European kid, and you go to work, you do your job, you live your normal, you live your life, you have responsibilities, and you do what you're supposed to do. And so for me, I wasn't going to not do what I was supposed to do, what was expected of me. And so around that time is when I started to experience like this spiritual shift, this real struggle with what I'm doing, what do I want, what direction am I going in, what do I believe. And I grew up very faithful in a very strict Orthodox Christian household, and I still have a very strong faith. And so it took me a while to kind of come around. So from then till about, like, then was slowly kind of learning, slowly trying to get to where, I thought maybe the direction I might want to go in. And then around COVID is like what caused like that real shift. And I had already bonded and had met and made friends in the community with mediums that I had learned with and I was training with. And I, like, that shift made me say, like, this is like what I feel like I need to do. It forced me, to kind of say, okay. However, I forget. I had also a physical, um, uh, something physically affect me before that, which is why I had already kind of been like going deeper into learning like the mediumship and all of that. Where, like I said, I was going to keep working. For I was not going to stop being a responsible, adult in my mind, right? And I didn't want to be different from people. And I ended up getting an injury that where I had gotten hurt. It was something totally random, something people really can't explain. I still don't have like a legitimate like answer for what happened, but I wasn't able to use my arms. I was in like a tremendous amount of pain that I couldn't even I could barely lift a spoon to feed myself. And so it forced me to have to stop everything, change what I was doing, and it forced me to, realize things and trust in others and all of that stuff. It forced those kinds of lessons upon me. And so I ended up shifting in first in that major shift, and then going deeper into that kind of mediumship side of myself and starting to shift my life and trying to find my path. And then again, then COVID came, and then I healed, of course, and then I still have issues, but I'm predominantly like about 98% like fully functioning. But I then COVID hit, and I'm like, no, like I really have to do this. So I started doing it, but I was never going to go public. Like I was never going to be a medium that would be on a show or do documentaries with people. And then Danica came along, and that was it. Like she pushed me. She's like,
It's her
no, you should
fault.
be
It's her
doing this.
fault.
Yeah, you should. Just basically pushed me off. Like she's that little kid that when you're standing on the deep end of the pool walks by and just pushes you and you go in and then
I
again.
I can imagine her doing that. Yes, yes,
Totally, I can see
definitely.
it as a
Yeah, I
kid and
can.
as an adult.
Yeah,
So she basically kind of gave me that push, and that's when I actually started doing things publicly and doing readings publicly with there's locations out here that I work with, Illuminate, Light Emporium, and I'll soon be working with some new ones, and then doing all the paranormal stuff. So yeah. Oh, and the Franklin Castle now we're working with, so different
yeah.
places.
So I've known you long enough now to know that number one, you've never been a responsible adult.
Shh.
So I'm like, no, let's just get. Oh, okay, okay. Let's not tell anybody. Right, okay. And number two, I could definitely see Danica like if there's a line of people at the pool, she'll just like synchronized swimming and push every single one of them into the pool.
It's so
So
true.
the fact that you've got the Orthodox background, the fact that you as a scientist, the fact that you realized that you'd got abilities, was there a time when you had kind of like an internal battle? Because scientists kind of say one thing, the spiritualist part of you is saying something different, and then your Orthodox religion is saying something different from the other two. So how did you resolve that battle?
I don't think that battle is ever going to be totally resolved because I'll still question things, which is good. Like I don't want to just believe everything like that I see or believe everything that I hear. So for me, I want to have the scientist that says, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on? Is there anything else happening?" And the person of faith that says, quite honestly, you know, okay, what are you believing? Are you kind of staying on track? Are you kind of veering off onto the wrong path? It kind of keeps me more stable. And I feel like if I didn't have that strong faith side to myself, I would not be able to connect like I connect because I have a strong belief again, like I say at the end of the show, that there is something greater than myself. I say God. I have a strong belief and I know that God exists. And for me, that's what pushes me to kind of keep going. And quite honestly, people believe in things they don't see in science and in their and in religion. And why does it stop when somebody can see something and can give you like the like evidence and that what they're seeing is real. That's why the evidential side of mediumship is was my favorite, because I can bring something forward that like I could never know in a million years, right? So that for me is most important. So the wind blows, we don't see the wind, but we feel it. We know it's there. You know, with people, the people who have religion and faith, does you know they believe in God. They know God's there. They know from experiences, from their own prayers and their own belief systems. So why can't this also exist? So for me, I feel like there's more overlap amongst the three than there is difference. It's just people refuse to see it because it's too scary.
Yeah,
It can't be explained yet. And so it scares people, but science is going deeper and deeper into that side of things and starting to realize more and more, you know, with like studies using fMRI. And I just saw on I forget, I think it was the Cleveland Clinic's site, like they bring, well, they've had this for a while though, Reiki practitioners in, because they are looking at whole mind and body. And so, and on their website, they actually talk about it. And scientists have actually looked into what they call the biofield, which is what we describe in on this side of things as the aura. So, like, there's, and we have an entire biofield around the Earth. We call it the magnetic field. So, how can these things all exist but not exist around us? It's just crazy. Sorry, I went off
I
on
was
a
going to say,
tangent.
look at you being
This
all
whole show is going
intellectual.
to be me talking and you just
Yeah,
listening. Okay, this is what's
I,
going to happen.
I am so not used to you being intellectual. This is just not you at all. So don't spit your drink out. Don't do it. So so okay, wow, right. So let's kind of like make it a little bit more light now,
I have
because
many
like
layers, Lee. Many
it's
layers.
yeah, I'm kind of getting that, and it's like, oh dear, using big words that I don't understand. Stop it on a Friday evening. So when
Good thing
you
I
went
had
to
my
your
nap.
oh, that's what it is. Yeah,
My
yeah,
nap.
yeah. You old folk need an afternoon nap, don't you? So when you went to your first alleged haunted location, can you remember your very first one? Because you've been to absolutely bucket loads.
You know, I
No.
can't. I cannot tell you because, quite honestly, I think my first haunted location was something when I was young, like a
Yeah.
teenager.
Okay. Officially.
Oh, officially, gosh, oh my gosh,
See,
I can't even.
I knew I'd catch you out with something.
Yeah, I can't even think of where I went first.
Such a long time ago.
Matt, I think no, I don't think that was the first one, but that was probably one of the first ones. Was like Madison Seminary here in Northeast Ohio, but that was not the first one. Mm,
Okay.
I can't think of it.
I knew I'd win. I knew I'd win this
You
argument.
win. I cannot think of what my first
Yeah.
location
So
was.
let's kind of like flip that question then. Tell me about one of your favorite locations.
Oh man,
If you stay quiet now, I'm just going to drive down there
there are
and
so
like give
many different choices.
most
Okay.
active, most scary. Yeah, let's.
I don't think I've had. Okay, okay, no, there has been one place that scared me, but it's not a publicly known location. This was actually somebody's residence, where it's one of maybe two times where I've truly believed something much darker was present in the home. Like it had all the telltale signs of like some kind of like dark demonic presence. All the way to the point where the family was actually all sleeping together. Excuse me, sleeping together in one room of the house. Like it had
That's cool.
gotten to that level, and and when I got in there, it I saw like things that were different. So it's not like, because I can see a lot of different things. And so for me, it's not so much what I see, it's the feeling I get and what I know about what I'm seeing. And so I think that was my scariest, and probably the only one that's really truly scared me in that way. I think places scare me, like as a normal, like just a, not normal, I can't say normal, but as a human being,
No,
you
because you're
know.
not normal.
So I think places scare me, like when you go into a dark place and it's, you can't see, and you have no idea who's going to come out of what doorway or anything. So I think that kind of scary happens to me regularly, but being scared of the space and the spirits, that's probably the scariest one I've experienced. And then the kind of, oh gosh, the ones that have been the most fun are the ones where I actually get to have not only, experiences with my abilities, but to have the ability kind of like overlap with the experience. So it's just kind of like, I can just quickly, if you let me name like just a few, I always give this story, Madison Seminary, where we heard my voice playing back as if it were on a recorder in a stairwell, and everybody in the group heard it just after I did a session in the dining area. And nobody was playing my voice back on a recorder. And so that was like a great experience. A lot of the little things happen in that location. And then we were at Palmer House in Minnesota, and I had my sweatshirt pulled. And and I know my sweatshirt was pulled. Like that's how physical it was. So that experience was fun for me. And then the other one would be, we were at the Lemp Mansion. Shoot, is that Kansas, or I think that's Kansas. So, but the Lemp Mansion, I had a full body, like image on my thermal camera. So the person gets up from the piano, runs across when we're coming into the room into a closed doorway. And so when we do our like introduction to paranormal investigation, that's one of my favorite videos to play, because it, like, that was just one of the greatest experiences, because I saw it happening on the thermal and I could see nothing happening behind it. So for me, and those experiences were, like, I guess the most exciting
Yeah,
that I can think
because
of offhand. I'm sure there's many more, but those are the ones I can
yeah,
think of offhand.
because it's
Or
quite
every
interesting.
experience with you.
I, I'm sorry. In fact, I was going to come on to that in a second, but you mentioned about, like scary environments. When I go to an investigation, I don't know what it is, and you'll probably be able to tell me because you're a scientist. I never like having my back to a doorway, a hallway, or a window. I've got to have my back against something solid like a wall. And I don't know if that's the kind of like the fight or flight
Yeah, it
kind of
is.
kind of thing. But like, even I could be on the third floor of a building. It's like I'm still not going to have my back against that window, and and I've always done it that way,
Yeah,
and it's sort of like, but yeah,
that makes sense.
let's talk about the prison, and let's talk about how your wife nearly got you arrested at the border. No, we don't
Should I
have
tell
any
that story?
weapons.
Should we tell the story?
But let's talk about L'Oreal prison first.
All right.
See,
Oh my
you,
gosh.
you didn't know I was going to bring that up, did you?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you came down to Hawksbury in Ontario, to the L'Oreal prison. You came down with Danica and JD. How was that experience for you? Of not meeting me personally, but the location itself.
But that was the best experience of the whole thing.
Oh, thanks.
Well, all around, it was a great experience. Just in in the fact that you were all very professional, very welcoming, and the location is just a great location. So in that respect, that was that was great for us. The location itself too, we didn't get as much when we were there. We didn't get as much as activity as we would like, but there was a lot of spirit presence. And we had some sounds, we had some things happen. And like for me, of course want to go back and investigate it more, see what else we can get. It feels like we didn't have enough time. I just want I like I it's one of the places where I wasn't okay, like I'm done and let's move on to something else. It was just like it was a place where I'm like, no, I want to keep going and see what else we could figure out.
Yeah, because one of the experiences for that night was when you kept repeating the question, "Is the third
Oh yeah.
three floors?" And I'm adamant saying, "No, there's only two. There's the ground floor and the first." But you were adamant that there was three floors, and then I didn't tell you because I already knew the answer. But then after you did your walk around, I kind of clarified that situation by saying there's three guys that were buried in the courtyard, and that would then
Be the
equate
third
to
level.
your third level.
I kept asking, is there a basement? Is there? Ooh, excuse me. Sorry about. Sorry, I
Yeah.
have a more important phone call I need to take.
Wow, I'm gonna do a road trip this weekend and look at what this.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, so that was when I was in the infirmary too, and we had just had that awesome writing session where it was like an Estes writing session, and yeah, you told me that, and then it made total sense after, because the third kept coming up, and then I knew there was like another level. There was another level, and that was crazy. That was
yeah,
crazy.
and I think then the other part that we mentioned, which was actually a room that was locked, and you could see a gentleman stood looking at us that I think you said was indigenous, if I remember correctly. And I said that when this door was unlocked, I actually walked in there a few months previous and got the stroke down the side of my face. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah, but with me being the inquisitive kind of person, and okay, yeah, let's be honest, yeah, people like putting mediums to the test
Oh yeah.
because some people kind of go, well, yeah, where are they getting that information on, that kind of thing. So having that walk around, I never really told you a lot. You was asking me questions and I just wasn't answering them
And that's
because I want,
fine.
yeah, because
That's
I wanted you to come out with the information. And the fact that I knew that people were buried in the courtyard, and then we had this, like I say, the sensation before where I got stroked on the face, and then you could just see this guy looking back at us. And I was trying to get as much information, but what's he doing? He's just looking at us, and it was so weird to know that 3 months previous I'd had this face stroke, and then you're going, "Oh yeah, there's a guy in there looking at us." So it does make me wonder if it was the same one or not, the same person, or if it
very
was something
likely.
different.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wasn't there
Yeah,
to see him actually do it. So as the
yeah,
science
yeah.
side of me, it's like, I can't say 100%, but it's very likely it was him.
Yeah. But one thing
Especially
that
if you
you,
had the same experience in that
yeah,
space.
yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing that you mentioned a few minutes ago that we're going to talk about now, and it was quite funny a few weeks ago when you asked me about it, and I went, "Yeah, I've still got your drawings," and I took pictures of your
Yeah.
drawings that you took on that night,
There were
and you
so
didn't
many.
believe that. Yeah, and you didn't believe that I'd still got them. See, that's how much our meeting meant to me. But obviously for you, no. On to the
Aw.
next one. You're gone.
I'll send
So,
chocolate.
oh, thanks. So, transcribing. How did you realize that you could transcribe, and how did that kind of develop?
So for me, for when you kind of go into doing like shows and things like that, people are quick to want to identify in some way what you do and title the show, right? And so that term came more from wanting to title the show than kind of everything that I do and how I work, and people have become like transfixed with it. But in a way, it's kind of like taken on a life of its own too. It's become a new way to kind of identify the way I read. So we've also kind of adopted it in that way, but it does get a lot of critical response from some people. But really, you know, I when I was really getting deeper and doing this work, I did not quite know how I would read, how I would kind of, what would be the best method for me to bring across information to people. Like, could I do oracle cards? Yes. And could I just read and do gallery, and of course, and I still do all of that. I do galleries and events like that. But when I sit down with a person across from me, I notice, like, you or anyone that I've sat with, they like to see something. As humans, we can't, we physically want to see something. And sometimes, and especially kind of in the old, like, Lily Dale fashion, where they give you, or the spiritualist fashion, where they give you something, right? They take the paper with them, so it's theirs to keep. And some people have written me back, or have come back and seen me and say, this, they show me a picture, they framed the drawing, because the reading had meant so much to them, and that touches my heart. And so it's kind of like taking on almost a life of its own in a way. But when I was really trying to figure out how I can bring that message across, one day it was just like, take a notebook. That knowing, I think, kind of kicked in. And I kind of go in 15 different directions all the time. And so at first it told me, bring the notebook and just let it focus you. And so just kind of, scribble back and forth and see if, and write some notes on it, and go from there. And then it just, I realized that the way I read, people say that I'm not completely present, and I'm not. I don't look at them. They say my eyes change, like I do things differently. And it's true. Things do happen when I'm reading. And so I know I go into some, I call it, the only way I can think of to describe it is almost like this partial kind of trance. And I do believe that when the writing comes through, it's part of the knowing, and whatever kind of how this trance experience happens. And how it happens, I can't really give an explanation. I just know I can't draw for anything. And
I've noticed.
somehow, yeah, and somehow, even in all of this, like, just drawing lines and the scribbling back and forth, images come through.
Yeah.
And so I can't explain it. I just know that it happens. And so it evolved from focus yourself, use this, to, oh my gosh, images are here, are present. And that's when I realized what was actually happening.
Okay. So just for the record, I am not going to be mean and do the Zeta cards with you.
Oh, please. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I'll probably get 90% wrong. Because, like,
Yeah.
just like
So
anybody else, the pressure gets to you, and I'm like, I don't know, I just give up. It's a star.
yeah, yeah, and it's that same kind of concept where it's like, what do you mean she's ill? Did she not foresee it? Yeah, it's the
Right, yeah, exactly. Or give me the lottery numbers. That's
yeah, exactly, and that's why you live in a tent. So
yeah.
so when you go to, like, either a public event for a haunted location, or you go to a public event to do readings, do you prepare yourself differently for the two different kind of scenarios, or do you just go into the same Irene, and go, okay, I'm ready for this, let's do it, kind of thing?
I think for me, one, I do maintain a consistent preparation. So I that is across the board for anything I do, and that's just like a pre-event. I do prayers, and I prepare myself mentally, and I have this little thing that I do to kind of like open myself up. Then that's consistent across the board with everything. But if I'm going to an event that's, full of people, I have to, do something different in terms of preparation for my human mind, body, and spirit, so that like I can focus and I can be present, and not get too distracted with people around me. And if I go to a paranormal location, I like to do, I still do prayer, but I like to kind of just have more of that, more attention to that protection, in the way that nothing comes home with me, nothing attaches, nothing like that in that way. But quite honestly, when I walk into a space, I don't walk in with the belief that something is going to attach to me. I go in just expecting everything to be protected. And that, I think that's really important when you go into a location. It doesn't mean things can't happen, and that I don't think that, like, that I think I'm, indestructible or in any sense. It just means that you have to go in with your mind mentally prepared that you're going to be fine. And if something happens, you'll take care of it.
So you're not the kind of person to walk in and go, "I'm here." I just have to get that.
I'm usually the one that's wandered off, and you're looking, yes, and then I pop my head in the doorway. Oh, I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, always at the back of the class. It's sort of like, where is she?
Pretty
where
much,
is she?
Yeah, that's
yeah. So I know we've spoken. That's a proper word. We've spoken a lot about, how you got your abilities and how you nurtured them. So, and I know that we've had this conversation, but if somebody thinks or senses that they have an ability, but they're not sure how to nurture it,
okay.
Davika, how do you, or what can you say to that person to encourage them to go down the right path?
For me, they have to be ready. You have to be ready to do it and choose to do it, because it's about trusting what comes through. So the first thing that I do if I'm in a location with somebody that has abilities, and they are like kind of opening themselves up, even if it's just a little bit, I do everything I can to find a way to, honestly, of course, right? Not to kind of blow smoke, but to validate their experiences, whether it's something I also am experiencing or I see, or to bring them the information that shows them that they were right. Right. So, oh, am I boring you? Do you need some caffeine?
Yeah, you are. I was about to fall asleep. You're so mean to me. You are. Your
the
wife's
meanness
much nicer.
Is mutual.
Your wife's much nicer.
It's our language of love.
Oh, right. Okay. So please carry on.
I forgot what I was saying. It's gone.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
Some drivel.
Some something.
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the first thing I try to do is validate. That's one of probably the most important things, I think. It's really important because it gets them to stop and take, take inventory and say, oh, you know what? I did get that right. And it makes them think, okay, maybe I can do this again. Maybe I can try. And the thing that I say most is, practice doing it. Like those cards, yes, you bring them up and I laugh, but if you when you do that, it kind of, you're opening yourself up to be open. Like you're opening yourself up to be open.
That's really good. That's really good English, Irene.
You're opening yourself up to allow for that trust in spirit to kind of come through and guide you. That doing those practices as I was taught in the same way. This is not, Irene's vast knowledge. This is being taught to me from amazing mediums that like I look at every day, the people who taught me, and I still look at them and go, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. If I can only live up to your ability, right? And so what they showed me is that also you have to do practice and open yourself up in that way so that you start to begin to trust a little more. And that's how you're able to tell the difference between, is this my imagination? Is this something I'm feeling? Or is this something coming from somewhere else? And it just helps you kind of figure it out and start to trust spirit more and yourself more. I think that's probably the biggest part of it. And I always recommend the exercises, all the mediumship exercises that are out there for people to practice, because that's how I like practiced and learned. The more you practice, the more you show that trust that it's going to come through.
Yeah,
The more
because
you learn to do it.
I know that you've suggested a couple of books, and I've actually read them and found them quite intriguing. But is that the same kind of principle for because you've kind of got two people. You've got the people that are experiencing stuff, but they're not quite sure how to handle it. But then when you read in some of the books, they say that everybody can be a medium if they're taught the correct way. So for somebody that, as far as they're aware, has no abilities, then that must be quite difficult for that individual because they don't know where to start.
Yeah. So it is. You're right. It's a common understanding, belief in the mediumship community. Everybody has these abilities, and we do. You brought it up before. You don't put your back to a window or to a door and you ask me, is that fight or flight? That's knowing. Your body knows to protect itself. And where does that come from? We don't we know how it works. We know why it happens. We, in the physical sense, but where does that come from? How do we just know to do this particular thing when our hormones are flowing through our body and telling us what to do, and our nervous system shuts down in certain places and turns back on, or turns on in other places? Like, that's your body knowing to do something in a way that your brain can't wrap itself around except to explain how it happens. And so for a person that doesn't think they have the ability, I tell them, when you walk into a place and you meet a person and you're like, ooh, this person, I don't get a good vibe from them. I don't feel like this is the decent yeah, exactly. I don't feel like this is like a decent human being, or I don't feel like I could trust this person. You're using your ability, you're using intuition, you're using clairs. Now, can everybody go to that level, like the level like that I read at? Do I think it's entirely possible that somebody who feels like they have no ability and then suddenly they start trying to kind of like open themselves out and figure out what's going on can suddenly be able to read? Yes, I do believe that can happen, and I've seen it happen. But some people only open up a little bit. Some people open up a ton. It just depends on the person and how they're willing to have this experience, and how they're willing to open themselves up. For the people that feel like they have nothing, and where do they even start? Again, the first thing is educate yourself on what it is. Find out, okay, like now, the clairs. Okay, I know what the clairs are. What do the clairs mean? How do I understand the clairs in relation to me? Educate yourself first, understand the information, and then you can build from there.
Yeah, because it's interesting that we spoke about the fight or flight, because spending 25 years in the emergency services, I've never... Okay, I had one guy running towards me with a machete, but that's not fight or flight. That's just like, get the hell out of there. But I've never really had... I've never really been in that position where I've had to fight or flight. But it does bring back a memory of when I was like 5. I'd been to the corner store, turned around a corner, and this old guy basically fell off his bike and cut his face open. I was 5 years old. I was the only one around, 5 or 6. And I really remember that I had that fight or flight, because I turned to run in the opposite direction, but then my mind kind of went, no, you have to help him. So I helped him pick it, and he was bleeding. But that's the only time that I've really had that fight or flight experience. And I can, I'm now a bit older than you, but I can remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah. I got grey hair. You dye yours. Let's just.
I dye mine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's weird how, like I say, being in the emergency services, you think you'd kind of have that feeling more often, but it never really occurred because you get trained and you know what to expect and you know worst case scenario.
Right. You have the education behind it.
Yes, I am educated. Thank you for noticing.
But having that knowledge helps you understand and control your experience more, in the same way as having the knowledge in terms of mediumship helps you control and understand the experience more. And learning from others, like if you can find a trusted person that's going to, authentically guide you and teach you, that's really important. And it's, and the person each teacher is different, and so people are drawn to certain teachers, and that's fine. That helps them.
I do, but she lives in the US.
I'm always here.
I know that, and I appreciate that. So, unfortunately, we're coming to the end, even though we nearly forgot about tonight, but let's not even mention that to anybody. Keep it between me and you, okay? What's next on the agenda? What you got coming up that you're excited for?
Oh my gosh. I should have had that little paper that Danica wrote out for me. Do I have it over here? I do not have it over here.
She's dying in the corner. You leave her alone.
I have an event called Dine with the Dead, but that's not till the fall. I have
you dig a corpse up and like.
So basically, we go to like haunted locations, and they have like a dinner, and then I do a gallery reading. So I have that
it's not
coming.
Like you've got a corpse next door to you, like
yeah, right.
Fingers are falling off, and the jaw drops into the plate, and
it's like Beetlejuice. And so it's a great experience. Everybody come join.
Yes.
And so then I have the Underworld Culture Convention that's in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I have Parajam in August. Hold on. I got a text message from the boss. Give me 1 second.
Oh, so she sat on the sofa. She just messaged you what you're. Wow.
So I have Parajam coming up in August in Gettysburg. I'll be doing a gallery reading there. I have Creep It Real, where at the Doss House in Pennsylvania. I can't remember if the prison is Edinburgh or if the Doss. I cannot remember the name of the town. I think it's Ebensburg. And then I'll be doing a charity gallery event. So please come out. It's to support Santiago Cirilla's Haya Foundation, and then other charities that Creeper Real works with. And it's just a donation of $10, and you get to experience a gallery reading, and that will happen in June. And I'll also be doing. They're having this kind of special event, like this table tipping event, and then I'll be doing readings while that table tipping event at the same time as that's happening. And then we're going to be doing an evening gallery event. And then investigation of the prison, Old Stone Jail. I do Medium Mondays at the Franklin Castle, so those have become now more of a regular event. So kind of keep an eye out for that. It's not every Monday, but it's 1 or 2 Mondays a month. And I do an intimate gallery event, and then we do either like some kind of specialty thing post to the event, whether it be like a guided tour or something like that. I'll be at the Team Weird Takeover in June in Baltimore at I think it's called the Old Baltimore Hotel with the Witching Hours, which is one of the other shows on the Spirit Realm Network. Then you can catch me every Tuesday at 8 p.m. On the Spirit Realm Network. You can chat with us live or also on the Facebook page and reach out. I do, what else? That's every Tuesday at 8 p.m. And then I have the new Era Paranormal podcast that you've been on, and that airs at Sunday nights at 9 p.m. I know I'm forgetting something in there. So, and I have small events that I do in this area, in the Cleveland area, coming up with Illuminate and the Light Emporium. Danica and I do Introduction to Paranormal Investigation. We just did one at Illuminate, but in Concord, Ohio, but the Light Emporium in Ashtabula, Ohio, is having one with us at the end of May. And what we do is we do an introductory class, and then we go and we investigate locations, short investigations to practice the skills and use the equipment. So we'll be out that way May 30th at the Light Emporium. Illuminate has many upcoming events that I'll be reading at. I'll be doing some other events in the area that I can't think of at the moment. Hold on, the boss is sending me a.
I was going to say another text message for the update.
But and the Remnants Project with Neppy, New Era Paranormal Investigators, which is where I do also the podcast with them. We're doing something called the Remnants Project, where we're traveling from different locations. I don't know those locations ahead of time. They have been meeting and talking about those locations, and it's connected with the Underground Railroad. So that'll be a documentary series that's coming out. I know he's finished up, or he's been finishing up the investigation that we all did together. So I know he was talking about that.
Oh, cool.
I think that's everything. And JD will be doing a workshop. We won't fortunately not be there. We would love to be there, but we couldn't make it work in terms of our schedule. But he's doing mini workshops at Penhurst, the Paracon coming up this weekend.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And so if anybody wants to go out and catch him out there, everybody has had their crazy experiences in the paranormal field. But if you don't mind me kind of pointing out your team, the Creep It Real team, Unique Paranormal 1.5, Black Lantern, that does the Parajam in Gettysburg. Like, we have worked with, as much as there can be all the paradrama in the world, right? We have worked with some great people that we're very grateful for. Your team, especially, is, as much as ridiculous as we can be, right? Professional and respectful and, tolerant of my craziness, but wonderful to work with and good people. And so I just want to point out those groups as well, because in our experiences in this world, in the little time that we've been here, they have been they've been great people to surround ourselves with. And other people that we've worked with that have been great, that I would love to name, but I'd be here for 20 more minutes. However, I'm just going to tell you, your grandmother came in at the end. I don't know if she came in during your reading that we did that one time, but she came in to say hello to you, and I just have to tell you, she says hi. So it feels like it's your grandmother on your father's side. So she's
interesting.
Yeah, she came through and she wants to say hello. You look a lot like her. So it's this part of your face. It's that kind of.
I don't think she had a mustache, I'm pretty sure.
But you look a lot like her, and your sense of humor is very similar to hers. You have that same look on your face.
But right now? Yeah, probably. But no, thank you. I wasn't expecting that, but I know that we've done this kind of thing before, so thank you for your kind words at the end. Even though I know we're the best ones in Canada, right?
You're the best ones. Period. How's that sound?
Because we're probably the only ones in Canada that Irene, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know it's taken some time to finally get you tied down. Excuse the pun. But I know that we're going to stay in touch for many, many, many years to come.
Yes.
But for now, thank you, my darling. You've been an absolute pleasure. Can't wait to speak to you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.